Hello. Good evening. Hope everyone had a good day, or at the very least, it is over. You've made it to the middle of the week. Congratulations. You're almost there. um, I did want to give a bit of an apology. I had another book planned for today. Um, a reread of mine that I really enjoy. Not my favorite out of the series, but one that I have such a fondness for the character of that I just have to do it justice. The delay is actually because I had migraine problems, so I wasn't actually able to read as much as I had hoped. So sorry about that. But I didn't want to just I didn't want to have another week off, so I decided to do some poetry, and it gave me an excuse to buy secondhand poetry books because I didn't feel like digging through my old textbooks for certain authors and figuring out which poems they had. So I did. So I went and bought some secondhand books, and I'm going to say this, and this is it's not a huge problem. It's just a little annoying for me. Um, so when I buy secondhand books, almost always they go to half price, and it's always been the price on the sticker for hardbacks, and then paperbacks are always half the listed price. If it's a new book, that may be different. It may be the listed price, and by new I mean within like the last 5 years. But most of the time, if it's old, it's half price. One of these books only had $1 off of the listed price, and it's not a huge complaint, but it was noticeable, and it's like it's a book of poetry. It's a book of poetry that probably gets published like every 5 years with a different cover because the poet is dead. He's not writing new things. Like maybe there's new notes from whoever's compiled it, but I feel like I shouldn't need to pay more for new notes. Um, so that was a weird thing to do to find out. Um, I put it in the description, but we're gonna start with T.S. Eliot. I'm probably only gonna read one or two of his. Um, the first one I'm reading is one that I have really liked ever since I had to read it for a class. And then I'm gonna go to Alfred Lord Tennyson because I adore him because he still rhymes. I know that sounds like a weird flex because it's poetry, but so much poetry doesn't rhyme anymore that it's almost a flex when it's like, oh no, this rhymes. I'll also say that I haven't read all of his poems, so I'm always down for reading something new, especially when I'm familiar with the poet. Did I need to go buy more books? No. Did I also buy another thing that I was potentially going to read? Yes. It would have required a little more prep work than I was up to for tonight. Um, do I have an eternal backlog of physical books? Absolutely. Buying books and reading books are two different hobbies, and I stand by that. I have both. It's problematic sometimes. So yeah, we are going to start. If I remembered, I think it's this one. Yeah, We are going to start with T.S. Eliot and the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. The one caveat to this, and one of the reasons we're not going to be reading a lot of T.S. Eliot, is it starts with, I think it's a quote from the Divine Comedy. I don't know if it's Inferno or not. But it's in Italian, and I don't read Italian, and I'm not going to attempt to read the Italian. And T.S. Eliot wrote poetry in multiple languages, so we're going to stick to the one I can read. So, we will get started with the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky. Like a patient etherized upon a table, let us go through curtained, half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent, to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. And indeed, there will be time. For the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back along the window panes, there will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare? And do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all, have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons, have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with a dying fall, beneath the music from a farther room, so how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all, the eyes that fix you in formulated phrase, and when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt-ends of my days and ways, and how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it the perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl? And should I then presume? And how should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through narrow streets, and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows. I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas, and the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired. Or it malingers, stretched on the floor here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here is no matter, no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker. And in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea? Among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all, if one settling a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it, after all? Would it have been worthwhile, after the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after teacups, after skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more? It is impossible to say just what I mean, but as if a magic lantern through the nerves and patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning towards the window should say, that is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the print, no doubt an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times, indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old, I grow old. I shall wear the bottom of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing, each to each. I do not think they sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back. When the wind blows the water white and black, we have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us, and we drown. That one is a favorite of mine. I've always liked the measured my life in coffee spoons as an avid coffee drinker. That always tickles me. And one of the interesting things that was pointed out is that the poem starts with, "Oh, do I dare, provoke the universe?" And then it ends with, "Do I dare to eat a peach?" It's like, these are two vastly different things at the other end of the confidence spectrum. But I like it. Um, I like the description of the fog. Oh, you know, that's what I should have looked at from T.S. Eliot. I should have looked for the cat's poems. Well, something to look for next time. Wait, are any of the cat's poems in this book? Let's see, hang on. La la la. I don't know when he wrote the cat's poems. It's not just in poems, is it? No. Okay. I'm sad that I forgot he wrote that. Alright, I am going to turn... Do you want me to put the name of the next one up, or do you want me to just, I probably should put it up. That would be the best thing to do. Alright. So the next one, we're going to do one more by T.S. Eliot, and then we're going to move on to Alfred Lord Tennyson. Let me change this title. I don't think I've read this one before. On stream, at least to y'all. I know I've read it before. Let me move that there so it's easier for everybody to see. And this is Preludes. So it's got a couple of different stanzas. Oh. Do we want to do one more T.S. Eliot or two? Huh. We'll start with this one, because I know I want to read this one. So this is Preludes. The winter evening settles down with smell of steaks in passageways. 6 o'clock. The burnt out ends of smoky days, and now a gusty shower wraps the grimy scraps of withered leaves around your feet, and newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots, and at the corner of the street, a lonely cab horse steams and stamps, and then the lighting of the lamps. The morning comes to consciousness. A faint stale smells of beer from the sawdust-trampled street with its muddy feet that press to early coffee stands. With the other masquerades that time resumes, one thinks of all the hands that are raising dingy shades in 1,000 furnished rooms. You tossed a blanket from the bed. You lay upon your back and waited. You dozed and watched the night revealing the 1,000 sordid images of which your soul was constituted. They flickered against the ceiling, and when all the world came back, the light crept up between the shutters, and you heard the sparrows in the gutters. You had such a vision of the street, as the street hardly understands, sitting along the bed's edge where you curled the papers from your hair, or clasped the yellow soles of feet in the palms of both soiled hands. His soul stretched tight across the skies that fade behind a city block, or trampled by insistent feet at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock. and short square fingers stuffing pipes, and evening newspapers, and eyes, assured of certain certainties, the conscience of a blackened street, impatient to assume the world. I am moved by fancies that are curled around these images and cling the notion of some infinitely gentle, infinitely suffering thing. Wipe your hand across your mouth and laugh. The worlds revolve like ancient women gathering fuel in vacant lots. Let's do one more. Let's do one more, and then I, for real, will go to Tennyson. Because I like Tennyson. So let's do one more. This one is... Nope. Just because I can type one-handed doesn't mean I can do it without mistakes. There we go. Rhapsody on a Windy Night. I will say one of the other ideas for tonight that I may do at a future time. So I reserve the right to do it later. But I was joking with someone and said I might just read Shakespeare's sonnet starting with number 1 and seeing how far we got. I may still do that because I really do enjoy Shakespeare in general and the sonnets also. Unsurprisingly, I have a favorite sonnet, but I think most people that like Shakespeare's sonnets have a favorite. So, but for our last T.S. Eliot, we're going to do Rhapsody on a Windy Night. 12 o'clock. Along the reaches of the street, held in lunar synthesis, whispering lunar incantations, dissolve the floors of memory and all its clear relations, its divisions and precisions. Every street lamp that I pass beats like a fatalistic drum, and through the spaces of the dark, midnight shakes the memory as a madman shakes a dead geranium. 1:30, the streetlight sputtered, the streetlight muttered, the streetlight said, "Regard that woman who hesitates toward you in the light of the door, which opens on her like a grin. You see the border of her dress is torn and stained with sand. You see the corner of her eye twists like a crooked pen. The memory throws up high and dry a crowd of twisted things, a twisted branch upon the beach, eaten smooth and polished, as if the world gave up the secret of its skeleton, stiff and white. A broken spring in a factory yard, rust that clings to the form that strength has left, hard and curled and ready to snap. 2:30, the street lamp said, "Remark the cat, which flattens itself in the gutter, slips out its tongue and devours a morsel of rancid butter." So the hand of the child, automatic, slipped out and pocketed a toy that was running along the quay. I could see nothing behind that child's eye. I have seen eyes in the street, trying to peer through lighted shutters, and a crab one afternoon in a pool, an old crab with barnacles on his back, gripped the end of the stick which I held him. 3:30. The lamp sputtered. The lamp muttered in the dark. The lamp hummed. Regard the moon. La lune ne garde acun rensune? She winks a feeble eye, she smiles into corners, she smooths the hair of grass. The moon has lost her memory. A washed-out smallpox cracks her face. Her hand twists a paper rose that smells of dust and eau de cologne. She is alone with all the old nocturnal smells that cross and cross across her brain. The reminiscence comes of sunless, dry geraniums and dust in crevices, smells of chestnuts in the streets, and female smells in shuttered rooms, and cigarettes in corridors, and cocktail smells in bars. The lamp said, 4 o'clock. Here is the number on the door. Memory, you have the key. The little lamp spreads a ring on the stair. Mount. The bed is open. The toothbrush hangs on the wall. Put your shoes at the door. Sleep. Prepare for life. The last twist of the knife. I'll admit, I wasn't expecting the one line of not English. Also, I don't know if it's French or Italian. Let's check right quick. Hang on, let me see. If I do this, y'all can't see it, right? Excellent. Let's see. How bad did I botch this? Oh, it's French. So I should have known how to say it. Gosh darn it. The moon holds no grudges. All right, so whoops. Let's move on to Alfred Lord Tennyson. Oh, Alfred Lord Tennyson. One of those poets that even if I don't like a poem, I don't typically hate any of his. So let's see. Should I start with one I know? Oh gosh. Oh, let's start with that one. This book is not the best setup. It's set up. It is too small to be helpful, but too big to be a problem, if that makes sense. So we're gonna do the Charge of the Light Brigade. We're gonna start. Let's see if I have misspelled things with the words right here. Never underestimate my ability to misspell things. Also, why is this... Oh gosh. I'm gonna have to move it up there. It's even longer. Ugh. Okay. So we will start with this one, and then we will go back to some others. Um, I know I like this one. There are some in here that I need to do a quick skim. But yeah. Partially because. So okay, before I start this one, let me say this. Part of the reason I like Alfred Lord Tennyson. Number one, he rhymes, and I feel like it's not a dying art with modern poetry, but it is there are certain popular poets who didn't rhyme, and that was a way for them to stand out. And it was kind of in defiance of all of the poets who rhymed before, uh, trying to be more real or more rhythmic, whatever it was. And that's fine. And there are people who prefer that. I like the rote and rhythm and sing-songness that you get easier with rhyming. I prefer the Shakespeare plays where Shakespeare is rhyming. It doesn't mean I don't like the ones where he doesn't. It means I prefer the ones where he does. The same is true for me with poetry. I don't mind if not everything rhymes. That's okay. I prefer the ones that do. But I also love myself an epic, and epics don't always rhyme the way you expect them to. And also it depends on the translation. True story, I was gonna pick up a translation of Beowulf, but they only had the Seamus Heaney translations, and I really want to get a Tolkien translation before I get the Seamus Heaney one, because one of those will be easier to find later, and that would be the newer one. Also, I don't wish it was out of copyright because he did pass away relatively recently in the grand scheme of literature. But man, I enjoy Seamus Heaney's poetry. And I wish I could share it with y'all, but it is very much still in copyright, so I can't. Check it out. I like digging. So, that is a poem. I recommend that one. Go find it. Go borrow a book from the library. Go to a secondhand bookstore. Go to an actual bookstore. Just read that one. So, with that tangent, let's do the Charge of the Light Brigade. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew. Someone had blundered, theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why. Theirs but to do and die, into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon to the front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging the army, while all the world wondered. Plunged into the battery smoke, right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered, then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, Stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell, they that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of the 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade, noble 600. I always like that one. I like the rhythms. I like the rhythms and drive. All right. So, let's see. Oh, that's a fun title. We're not starting with that one. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, let's do this one. This one is, if I remember correctly, this one is kind of meta. Sorry, I've learned from past reading streams that I need to take a little more time and actually drink in between things that I read, especially if I know a long one is coming up. Because otherwise I forget and regret it. I will say if Prosperine is in this one, I'm not reading that one. Because it's very much the Roman Prosperine and not the Greek Persephone. The Poet. The poet in a golden clime was born with golden stars above, dowered with the hate of hate, the scorn of scorn, the love of love. He saw through life and death, through good and ill. He saw through his own soul the marvel of everlasting will. An open scroll before him lay. With echoing feet he threaded the secretest walks of fame. The viewless arrows of his thoughts were heralded and winged with flame. Like Indian reeds blown from his silver tongue, a fight of so fierce a flight, from Calliope unto Cassius they sung, filling with light and vagrant melodies the winds which bore them earthward, till they lit. Then, like the arrow seeds of the field flower, the fruitful wit, cleaving took root and springing forth anew where'er they fell, behold, like the mother plant in Symbolus grew a flower all gold, and bravely furnished all abroad to fling the winged shafts of truth, to throng with stately blooms the breathing spring of hope and youth. So many minds did gird their orbs with beams, though one did fling the fire, heaven flowed upon the soul in many dreams of high desire. Thus truth was multiplied on truth. The world like one great garden showed, and though the wreaths of floating dark upcurled, rare sunrise flowed. And freedom reared that August sunrise, her beautiful bold brow, when rights and forms before his burning eyes melted like snow. There was no blood upon her maiden robes, sunnied by those orient skies, but round the circles of the globes of her keen eyes, and in her raiment hem was traced in flame wisdom, a name to shake all evil dreams of power, a sacred name, and when she spake, her words did gather thunder as they ran, and as the lightning to the thunder which follows it, riving the spirit of man, making earth wonder, so was their meaning to her words. No sword of wrath her right arm whirled, but one poor poet's scroll, and with his word she shook the world. Let's do the C. Is it hyphenated? How, Tennyson, how have you decided to do this? Oh, I can't type. C hyphen. If you ever want to see interesting spellings of things, go find from Tennyson's era to before, because sometimes things are variant spellings because things were variantly spelled, like English wasn't super standardized. Sometimes there's variant spellings for meter reasons, and I have to figure out how the poet intended it. And sometimes I fail, because I'm pretty sure snow was supposed to rhyme with something else in that last poem, and it did not rhyme. I'll also say that makes it interesting to think about. If you look at... let me go back to that. Hang on. Let me go back to that one right quick. Because there was one where I'm pretty sure they were supposed to rhyme. Because they had been alternating line for rhyme schemes. Fire Desire, Showed, Flowed. Brow and Snow. The fact that those two are supposed to rhyme, and they absolutely don't, tells me that they probably did when Tennyson said them. But I don't know which word would have been different. Bro and snow? That does not feel right. But then brow and snow also doesn't feel right. Unless it's just a random slant rhyme in this entire thing where it's an ABAB rhyme scheme. Doubt. Those two words are supposed to rhyme, and I don't know how you would have pronounced them to make them rhyme. Alright. Let's do the sea fairies. Slow sailed the weary mariners, and saw betwixt the green brink and running foam sweet faces, rounded arms, and bosoms pressed to little harps of gold. And while they mused, whispering to each other, half in fear, shrill music reached them on the middle sea. Whither away, whither away, whither away? Fly no more. Whither away from the high green field and the happy blossoming shore? Day and night to the billow the fountain calls, Down shower the gambling waterfalls, from wandering over the lea, out of the live green heart of the dells, they freshen silvery crimson shells, and thick with the white bells the clover hill swells high over the full-toned sea. Oh, hither, come hither, and furl your sails, come hither to me and to me. Hither, come hither, and frolic and play. Here it is only the mew that wails. We will sing to you all the day. Mariner, mariner, full your sails. For here are the blissful downs and dales, and merrily, merrily carol the gales, and spangle dances in bright and bay, and the rainbow forms and flies on the land, over the islands free, and the rainbow lives in the curve of the sand. Come hither, and see. And the rainbow hangs on the poising poising wave, and sweet is the color of cove and cave, and sweet shall your welcome be. Oh, hither, come hither, and be our lords, for merry brides we are. We will kiss sweet kisses and speak sweet words. Oh, listen, listen, your eyes shall glisten with pleasure and love and jubilee. Oh, listen, listen, your eyes shall glisten when the sharp, clear twang of golden chords run up on the rigid sea. Who can light on happy as a shore, all the world o'er, all the world o'er? Whither away? Listen and stay. Mariner, mariner, fly no more. Oh, dear. Okay. Okay. We're gonna do one more that's short, and then I'm gonna get in for the long one, because I forgot that he did that one. Welcome to I've read a lot of things and forgotten some authors. So, let's go to The Mermaid. After this, we're gonna do a long one. That is not set up the way any of the other poems are. If you're ever wondering, there are certain poets I will not read. Well, there's certain ones I won't read because I don't enjoy them. There's others that I won't read because they are visual poems. And then there's ones like this that look like prose and are in fact not. But let's start with The Mermaid, which is still in the realm of what you would expect from a poem. Who would be a mermaid fair, singing alone, combing her hair, under the sea in a golden curl, with a comb of pearl on a throne? I would be a mermaid fair. I would sing to myself the whole day, with comb of pearl I would comb my hair, and still I'd comb it, I would sing and say, who is it loves me, who loves not me? I would comb my hair till my ringlets would fall, low adorn, from under my starry seabud crown, low adorn, and around, and I should look like a fountain of gold, springing alone, with a shrill inner sound, over the throne in the midst of the hall, till that great sea snake under the sea from his coiled sleeps in the central deeps would slowly trail himself sevenfold round the hall where I sate, and look in at the gate with his large calm eyes for the love of me, and all the mermen under the sea would feel their immortality, die in their hearts for the love of me. But at night I would wander away, away. I would fling on each side my low flowing locks, and lightly vault from the throne, and play with the mermen in and out of the rocks. We would run to and fro, and hide and seek on the broad sea worlds and the crimson shells, whose silvery spikes are nightest the sea. But if any came near, I would call and shriek, and adown the steep like a wave I would leap from the diamond ledges that jut from dells, for I would not be kissed by all who would list of the bold merry mermen under the sea. They would sue me and woo me and flatter me in purple twilights under the sea. But the king of them all would carry me, woo me, win me, and marry me. And in the branching jaspers under the sea, then all the dry-pied things that be in the hueless mosses under the sea would curl round my silver feet silently, all looking up for the love of me. And if I should carol aloud from aloft, all things that are forked and horned and soft would lean out from the hollow sphere of the sea, and all look down for the love of me. Oh no, I like the next two. Okay. Alright. We're gonna do a long one. And then, depending on how long it takes me, I may do the next long one that I also really like. So welcome to the confusion that is Morte d'Arthur. Not to be confused with La Morte d'Arthur. Does he actually use the apostrophe? He does. So if you don't know, Tennyson does a lot of stuff, if you can't tell already, dealing with myths, folklore, fairy tales, and legends. This includes Morte d'Arthur. This one is a longer one. It is 10 pages in this book. And they are dense. I will figure out if Kai shows up in here, if it is Kai or K in this one. I usually pronounce it Kai, but I may be wrong. Learning that Welsh names are pronounced differently than I always have in my head for years was a real shock this past, 2 years. As I've encountered more Welsh names and looked up pronunciation guides for them and realized I don't speak that language at all, much less the names. So let's see how this goes. So this is Morte d'Arthur. So all day long the noise of battle rolled among the mountains by the winter sea, until King Arthur's table, man by man, had fallen in lioness about their lord. King Arthur, then, because his wound was deep, the bold Sir Bedivere uplifted him, Sir Bedivere, the last of all his knights, and bore him to a chapel nigh the field, a broken chancel with a broken cross, that stood on a dark strait of barren land. On one side lay the ocean, and on one lay great water, and the moon was full. Then spake King Arthur to Sir Bedivere, the sequel of today unsolders all the goodliest fellowship of famous knights, whereof this world holds record. Such a sleep they sleep, the men I loved. I think that we shall never more at any future time delight our souls with talk of knightly deeds, walking about the gardens and the halls of Camelot, as in the days that were. I perish by this people which I made, though Merlin swear that I should come again to rule once more, but let what will be, be. I am so deeply smitten through the helm, that without help I cannot last till morn. Thou therefore take my brand Excalibur, which was my pride, For thou rememberest how in the old days one summer noon an arm rose out from the bosom of the lake, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, holding the sword, and how I rode across and took it, and have worn it like a king. And wheresoever I am sung or told in aftertime, this also shall be known. But now delay not, and take Excalibur, and fling him far into the middle mere, and watch what thou seest, and lightly bring me word. To him replied the bold Sir Bedivere, It is not meet, Sir King, to leave thee thus, aidless, alone, and smitten through the helm. A little thing may harm a wounded man, yet I thy hest will perform at full. Watch what I see, and lightly bring thee word. So saying, from the ruined shrine he stepped, and in the moon athwart the place of tombs, where lay the mighty bones of ancient men, old knights, and over them the sea wind sang. Shrill, chill, with flakes of foam, he's stepping down by zigzag paths, and juts of pointed rock came on the shining levels of the lake. There drew he forth the brand Excalibur, and o'er him drawing it the winter moon, brightening the skirts of a long cloud, ran forth and sparkled keen with frost against the hilt. For all the half twinkled with diamond sparks, myriads of topaz lights and jacinth work, of subtlest jewelry. He gazed so long that both his eyes were dazzled as he stood, this way and that, dividing the swift mind, in act to throw, but at the last it seemed better to leave Excalibur concealed there in the many knotted water flags that whistled stiff and dry about the marge. So strode he back slow to the wounded king. Then spake King Arthur to Sir Bedivere, Hast thou performed my mission which I gave? What is it thou hast seen, or what hast heard? And in answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, I heard the ripple washing in the reeds, and the wild water lapping on the crag. To which replied King Arthur, faint and pale, Thou hast betrayed thy nature and thy name, not rendering true answer as beseemed thy fealty, nor like noble knight for surer sign had followed either hand, or voice, or else a motion in the mere. This is a shameful thing for men to lie. Yet now I charge thee, quickly go again, as thou art lief and dear, and do the thing I bade thee. Watch and lightly bring me word. Then went Sir Bedivere the second time across the ridge and paced beside the mere, counting the dewy pebbles, fixed in thought. But when he saw the wonder of the hilt, how curiously, strangely chased, he smote his palms together and cried aloud, And if indeed I cast the brand away, surely a precious thing, one worthy note, should thus be lost forever from the earth, which might have pleased the eyes of many men. What good shall follow this, if this were done? What harm undone, deep harm to disobey? Seeking obedience is the bond of rule. Were it well to obey men, then if a king demand an act unprofitable against himself, the king is sick and knows not what he does. What record or relic of my lord should be to aftertime but empty breath and rumors of doubt? But were this kept, stored in some treasure house of mighty kings, some might one day show it at a joust of arms, saying, King Arthur's sword Excalibur, wrought by the lonely maiden of the lake, 9 years she wrought it, sitting in the depths, upon hidden bases of the hills. So might some old man speak in aftertime to all the people, winning reverence. But now much honor and much fame were lost. So spake he, and clouded with his own conceit, and hid Excalibur a second time. And so strode back slow to the wounded king. Then spoke King Arthur, breathing heavily, What is it thou hast seen, or what hast heard? An answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, I heard the water lapping on the crag, and the long ripple washing in the reeds. To whom replied King Arthur, much in wrath, "Ah, miserable, unkind, untrue, unknightly, traitor-hearted! Woe is me! Authority forgets a dying king, laid widowed in the power of his eye, that bowed the will. I see thee what thou art, for thou the latest left of all my knights, in whom should meet the offices of all. Thou wouldst betrayed me for the precious hilt, either from lust of gold, or like a girl valuing giddy pleasures of the eyes. Yet for a man may fail in duty twice, and a third time may prosper. Get thee hence. But if thou spare to fling Excalibur, I will arise and slay thee with my hands." Then quick rose Sir Bedivere, and ran, and leaping down ridges, lightly plunged among the bulrush beds, clutched the sword, and strongly wheeled and threw it the great brand, made lightnings and splendor of the moon, and flashing round and round, whirled in an arch, shot like a streamer of the northern morn, seen where the moving isles of winter shock by night with noises of the northern sea. So flashed and fell the brand Excalibur, but ere he dipped the surface rose an arm, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, and caught him by the hilt, and brandished him 3 times, and drew him into the mirror, and lightly went the other to the king. Then spoke King Arthur, drawing thicker breath, "Now see I by thine eyes that it is done. Speak out, what is it thou hast heard or seen?" And answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, "Sir King, I closed mine eyelids lest the gems should blind my purpose, for I never saw nor shall see, here or elsewhere, till I die, not though I lived 3 lives of mortal men, so great a miracle as yonder hilt. Then with both hands I flung him, wheeling him, but when I looked again, behold an arm, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, that caught him by the hilt, and brandished him 3 times, and drew him under in the mirror." And answer made King Arthur, breathing hard, "My end draws nigh. 'Tis time that I were gone. Make broad thy shoulders to receive my weight, and bear me to the margin. Yet I fear my wound hath taken cold, and I shall die." So saying, from the pavement he half rose, slowly, with pain, reclining on his arm, and looking wistfully with wide blue eyes, as in a picture. Him Sir Bedivere remorsefully regarded through his tears, and would have spoken, but found not words. Then took with care, and kneeling on one knee, o'er both his shoulders drew the languid hands, and rising bore him through the place of tombs. But as he walked, King Arthur panted hard, like one that feels a nightmare on his bed, when all the house is mute. So sighed the king, muttering and murmuring at his ear, "Quick, quick! I fear it is too late, and I shall die." But the other swiftly strode from ridge to ridge, clothed with his breath, and looking as he walked, larger than human on the frozen hills. He heard the deep behind him, and a cry before. His own thought drove him like a goad. Dry clashed his harness in icy caves and barren chasms, and all to the left and right the bare black cliff clanged round him as he paced, his feet on juts of slippery crag that rang sharp smitten with dint of armored heels. And on a sudden, lo, the level lake, the long glories of the winter moon, and they saw how there hove a dusty barge, dark as a funeral scarf from stem to stern. Beneath them, and descending, they were where all the decks were dense with stately forms, black-stoled, black-hooded, like a dream by these. 3 queens with crowns of gold, and from them rose a cry that shivered to the tingling stars, and as it were one voice in agony of lamentation, like a wind that shrills all night a wasteland, where no one comes or hath come since making of the world. Then murmured Arthur, place me in the barge. And to the barge they came. There those three queens put forth their hands, and took the king, and wept. But she that rose the tallest of them all, and the fairest, laid his head upon her lap, and loosed the shattered cask, and chafed his hands, and called him by his name, complaining loud, and dropping bitter tears against his brow, striped with dark blood, for all his face was white and colorless, and like the withered moon, smote by the fresh beam of springing east, and all his greaves and cuisses dashed with drops of onset, and the light and lustrous curls that made his forehead like a rising sun, high from the dais throne, were parched with dust, or clotted into points and hanging loose, mixed with the nightly growth that fringed his lips. So like a shattered column lay the king, not like the Arthur who with lance in rest from spur to plume, a star of tournament, shot through the lists at Camelot, and charged before the eyes of ladies and kings. Then loudly cried Sir Bedivere, O my lord Arthur, whither shall I go? Where shall I hide my forehead and my eyes? For now I see the true old times are dead, when every morning brought noble chance, and every chance brought out noble knight. Such times have not been since the light that led the holy elders with the gift of myrrh. Now the whole round table is dissolved, which was an image of the mighty world, and I the last go forth companionless, and the days darken round me, and the years among new men and strange faces and other minds. And slowly answered Arthur from the barge, the old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways. Lest one good custom should corrupt the world, comfort thyself. What comfort is in me? I have lived my life, and that which I have done may he within himself make pure. But thou, if thou shouldst never see my face again, pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world of dreams. Wherefore let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. For what are men better than sheep or goats, that nourish a blind life within the brain, and if knowing God they lift not hands of prayer both for themselves and for those who call them friend, for the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God. But now farewell. I am going a long way, with these thou seest, if indeed I go. For all my mind is clouded with doubt, to the island valley of Avalon, where falls not hail, nor rain, nor any snow, nor ever wind blows loudly, but lies deep meadowed, happy, fair, with orchard lawns, and bowery halls crowned with the summer sea, where I will heal me of my grievous wound. So said he, and the barge with oar and sail moved from the brink like some full-breasted swan, that fluttering wild carol ere her death ruffles her pure cold plume and takes the flood with swarthy webs. Long stood Sir Bedivere, revolving many memories, till the hull looked one black dot against the verge of dawn, and on the mere the wailing died away. Do you ever just sit with things sometimes? I've been such a fan of Arthurian myths and legends, but I've always avoided the ones that are like this. Like, I've read this before. It's been a long time. I've forgotten most of it. But with the exception of La Morte d'Arthur, I typically avoid the ones that are about the end. I'm more interested in the beginning of Camelot and the heyday, but the waning and the end and the fall and the crumble and the corruption and the I don't often read it. There's something about the magic of it while it's alive. It's just nice. And yeah. But sometimes it's good to sit with the sad and the quiet and the sorrowful. And the dumb Sir Bedivere who can't follow orders even though it's literally his king's dying wish. Sorry. Probably shouldn't stick on that, but it is always funny. Because of a series I read as a kid, The Squire's Tales, despite the fact that a lot of modern media is like, oh, Sir Gawain is the most basic of the knights. I'm like, yeah, but I like him. I know he's the most basic, but he's also the first one to mess up and then be like, I messed up. Let's not do that again. In fact, women are great. It's like, you only have to mess up with the Green Knight once, and you learn your lesson. Although I do like Dinadan too, but he's also just a good time. I don't think he would know seriousness if it slapped him. Which is a good thing. I like Dinadan. Let's do the Lady of Shalott. Before I accidentally put Shallot here. Why? Can you read that? I can read it on my side, but it's also got a big box around it. Let me come lean this way and check. I think you can read that. Okay. All right. Also, if this has been looking weird, I have shifted things around a little so that hopefully my camera works better. I really need to find a way to set my ring light up better, because right now all of my light is behind me because I have no space between my my camera and my microphone to put the ring light. It's a work in progress. I am aware I need it. I'm pretty sure that's why my tracking occasionally goes haywire. Is that it's like, you're backlit. Alright. Now for one that I wrote a paper on. Of the poems I wrote papers on, well, this one is a personal favorite that is still a favorite, and then Goblin Market is also still a favorite. Word of advice for anyone who is in the paper writing age demographic: unless you know that analyzing something won't ruin it for you, don't write a paper on something you love. Sometimes tearing a thing down to its basic building blocks will make you hate it. Other times, you're like, yeah, but I already loved it, and this is not going to change that. If you know that 100% for sure, go. It will only make you love it more. But if you aren't sure, don't write a paper on things you love. Why? Why am I facing sideways? Hello? I know where the camera is. There we go. Am I still facing sideways? I don't think so. I can... Let's do that. Better? There we go. That's better. Oh, look, and my mouth is actually tracking better. Excellent. Over here blaming the light, and I can just recalibrate. Okay. The Lady of Shalott. On either side of the river lie long fields of barley and of rye that clothe the world and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot. And up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs forever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 gray walls and 4 gray towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. By the margin, willow veiled, slide the heavy barges trailed, by slow horses and unhailed, the shallop flitteth silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. But who hath seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand, or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shalott? Only reapers, reaping early, in among the beaded barley, hear a song that echoes cheerily from the river winding clearly down to towered Camelot. And by the moon the weeper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy, listening whispers, "'Tis the fairy Lady of Shalott." There she weaves by night and day a magic web with colors gay. She hath heard a whisper say, a curse is on her if she stay to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily, and little other hath she, the Lady of Shalott. And moving through a mirror clear that hangs before her all the year, shadows of the world appear. There she sees the highway near, winding down to Camelot. There the river eddy whirls, and there the surly village churls, and red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, or sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot. And sometimes through the mirror blue the knights come riding 2 by 2. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights a funeral with the plumes and lights and music went to Camelot. Or when the moon was overhead came 2 young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shalott. A bow shot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came up through dazzling leaves and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red-crossed knight forever kneeled to a lady in his shield that sparkled on a yellow field beside remote Shalott. The gimmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in a golden galaxy. The bridle bells rang merrily as he rode down to Camelot. And from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armor rung beside remote Shalott. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jeweled shone and saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down to Camelot. As often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over still Shalott. His brow, his broad clear brow in that sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war horse trode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal black curls as he rode down to Camelot. From the bank and from the river he'd flash into a crystal mirror. Tira lira by the river, sang Sir Lancelot. She left the web, she left the womb, she made 3 paces through the room. She saw the water lily bloom, she saw the helmet and the plume. She looked down to Camelot, outflung the web and floated wide. The mirror cracked from side to side. The curse has come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. And in the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks contemplating, heavily the low sky raining over towered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat, beneath a willow left afloat, and round the prow she wrote, the Lady of Shalott. And down the river's dim expanse, like some bold seer in a trance, seeing all his own mischance, with a glassy countenance did she look to Camelot. And at the closing of the day, she loosed the chain and down she lay. The broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott. Lying robed in snowy white that loosely flew to left and right, the leaves upon her falling light, through the noises of the night, she floated down to Camelot. And as the boat head wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her singing her last song, the Lady of Shalott. Heard a carol, mournful, holy, chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her blood was frozen slowly, and her eyes were darkened, wholly turned toward towered Camelot. For ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the water's side, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a gleaming shape she floated by, dead pale between the houses high, silent into Camelot. Out upon the wharfs they came, knight and burr, lord and dame. Round the prow they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. Who is this, and what is here? And in this lighted place near died the sound of royal cheer, and they crossed themselves for fear, all the knights of Camelot. But Lancelot mused a little space. He said, she has a lovely face, God in his mercy lend her grace, the Lady of Shalott. If there was ever a poem that was like Lancelot is awful and everything is his fault, it's this one. If you hadn't been such a showboat, everything would have been fine. I'm biased. Oh gosh. If I remember that one correct, I like that one, but that is long. Let me check. I've got a couple more in here that might be interesting. How many of you know Epic the Musical? How many of you know that it's Odysseus? All right, let's do Ulysses, the less kind version. He also has a poem called Lotus Eaters, which is much shorter and is probably the one I should have picked. But let's pick Ulysses. This will probably be my last one for the night. Thank you everybody for coming. I need to figure out how to set up chapters so that any of the darling voidlings can easily go to what they want. But let's do this one. I'm pretty sure I just have to set them up and mark them. I just haven't done it. It's a problem. Nothing. OBS, why are you so weird about text boxes? It's like great that you fit everything in a box, but you don't know how and or when to wrap, and also you don't always shrink things the way I think you should. Alright, this one isn't super long, but it is. So this is Ulysses. It little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, with both those that loved me and alone, on shore and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hades vexed the dim sea. I am become a name, for always roaming with a hungry heart. Much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners and climates, councils, governments, myself not least but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers, far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am a part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life, life piled on life were all too little, and of one to me little remains. But every hour is saved from that eternal silence something more, a bringer of new things, and vile it were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself and this gray spirit of yearning and desire, to follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bound of human thought. This is my son, my own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle, well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor by slow prudence, to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods. When I am gone, he works his work, I mine. There lies the port, the vessel puffs her sail, there gloom the dark broad seas. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder, the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads. You and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done. Not unbecoming men that strove with gods. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes, the slow moon climbs. The deep moans round with many voices. Come, my friends. 'Tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows. For my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of the western stars until I die. It may be that the gulfs will wash us down. It may be that we touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides, and though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Yeah. Ugh, Galahad. Do you want one last one? I can do one more. It is you'll know it. Or you'll know of it, let me put it that way. It's one of those things where you'll know the title. Okay. Welcome to I Needed One Downer poem in all of our group. And it's this one. Tears, idle tears, I know not what they mean. Tears from the depths of some divine despair rise in the heart and gather to the eyes in looking on the happy autumn fields and thinking of the days that are no more. Fresh as the first beam glittering on a sail that brings our friends up from the underworld, sad as the last which reddens over one that sinks with all we love below the verge, so sad, so fresh, the days that are no more. Oh, sad and strange as in dark summer dawns the earliest pipe of half-awakened birds to dying ears, when unto dying eyes the casement slowly grows a glimmering square, so sad, so strange, the days that are no more. Dear as remembered kisses after death, and sweet as those whose hopeless fancy feigned, on lips that are for others deep as love, deep as first love, and wild with all regret. O death in life, the days that are no more. There we go. It should be a novel again next time, because I'm already working on it, and it is a reread, and it is a good one. The hardest part for me is going to be finding cover illustrators again, because it's old enough to have multiple print covers. But I hope you've all had a good night. I hope it's been chill and that you've enjoyed the poetry, or at least you've heard one that you haven't heard before. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good night.